Hi, welcome to the New Equity Network show, and your host, Michael Yorba, here with Ed Baxter, and we're talking with Phil Racusin, CEO, founder, EnergyFunders.com. This company focuses on the oil and gas sector with a crowdfunding platform that is remarkable. Some of these projects get funded in as little as 7 hours. I mean, I don't know how you do that, Phil. You've got to have just a huge group of people anxious to see what you put up on the board, right?
Right, and it's good to be with you all again.
Thank you.
Yeah, the way it works is we vet the daylights out of these deals. We spend a lot of time to bring a deal to the table that is something that we believe in, that we would put our own money in. And when we put it up, the investors know that we have put so much work into it, getting a really, really fair deal for them. And we have a community of investors across the nation. And so they all basically came in so quickly that it sold out in a record time. We were not expecting this. I mean, we were expecting, with the most recent project, we were expecting maybe a week, 2 weeks. And when you think about the capital raising power, you'd think that it would usually take longer in most traditional channels. But because we're leveraging the power of the internet, the power of a distributed investor community, it went like that. And we expect future projects to do the same.
Let's walk through a couple of examples of, how you've got negotiating leverage and how it's better than just doing it on an individual basis.
So EnergyFunders pools together accredited investors' money to negotiate the best deal possible. Actually, all the negotiation is done before the capital is raised on the basis of a whole pooled investment. If you're an investor and you were going to make a traditional investment in direct oil and gas investing, you would probably need about a minimum of $50,000 to $100,000, which is a lot for an individual investor who may want to spread their money across multiple projects, which is what we allow them to do. But that individual investor is going to be at the mercy of the deal as already negotiated. And I can tell you, because we renegotiate essentially every deal that we get, and on terms that are fair to the operator, but on terms that are very good for the investor, because we're investor first, the investors all end up with a much better deal than they could have negotiated on their own as one little guy. We are essentially harnessing the power of the crowd together for one large block of investment as opposed to small little units.
Phil, obviously you put a tremendous amount of time into, this is Ed again, by the way, put a tremendous amount of time into vetting deals. Can you give us an idea of what that time period is as far as how long it takes to actually vet a transaction you decide to put up?
Sure, Ed. So what we do is we have a multi-stage process. We have 3 stages we go through with the operators, and we try to make it as easy as possible for them. The first stage is information gathering, getting to know each other. If it's a new operator we haven't worked with yet, we have 7 categories of information that we ask for, and that is the product of an enormous amount of conversations and iteration to make sure it's something that most operators are comfortable with. That gets the ball rolling. We start to understand what is the project about, what are you looking for, what is your what sort of investment do you need to complete the project, what sort of returns can be expected, where is it located, what's your operating history like as an operator. We look at those things, we analyze it pretty quickly, and then we turn around to the operator and say, well, we're interested, or we want to proceed and have a conference call, or sorry, we're not interested, it's not in our wheelhouse. Or we might say, it's interesting, but we're going to have to negotiate a better percentage. Then we have a conference call, and we start digging deep, really deep into the due diligence, and that takes about 4 weeks. And then at that point, we'll, after it goes through the stage 2 of due diligence, internal and external review, then if we decide to proceed, we'll sign a purchase and sale agreement. That's what we call stage 3. And we prepare the legal filings, and then we put it up to the investor community.
Okay.
And then it gets, after it gets funded and it's successful, then the investors receive a quarterly dividend payment, and we'll pay the operator the capital raised on whatever schedule that the operator and energy funders have worked out that makes sense for the operator and yet also mitigates energy funders' risk. So we're not paying everything up front, but we're paying it out in logical stages.
One thing you mentioned earlier, you talked about harnessing the power of the crowd, and having come from an investment banking background and securities background myself, do you see this as a paradigm shift to the power to empower the investor versus continue to empower the sponsor?
Yes, it's clearly the statistics are showing that. I mean, after all, $10 billion raised in equity crowdfunding in 2014 and on pace to probably do twice that this year. An individual investor doesn't have to go to institutions. It doesn't have to go to a lot of middlemen and brokers. That's fine. It's fine that brokers and intermediaries exist and that they have a job to do and that they have their current capital networks. But the investors have a new option now, and that's to go essentially directly to the project producer, the operator, the oil and gas operator in our case. And we're standing in the middle, able to give them what amounts to a deal at a wholesale price rather than with all of the markups in between.
Now, you're getting feedback from both the investor side and the operator side. What kind of feedback are you getting from both sides of this equation?
The investors like the fact that they can put in a small amount of money starting at $5,000. They like the fact that we provide them with a wealth of information about the project. They like the fact that we're communicating regularly and we keep them up to date. On the operator side, operators are excited about the potential to expand their network of investors. Whereas, traditionally an operator operating in a particular state would be limited to friends, family, existing investors, word of mouth, and maybe some intrastate, advertising within, of course, the right securities framework. Now they can make their appeal nationwide to a whole community of investors. They really like that. They also like the fact that we negotiate for a working interest ownership, and we manage that block of investment together, so that they don't have to deal with a couple dozen investors. The average amount placed for investors around 10,000. I've seen another model of crowdfunding out there, and for one project that they have up, and I think that's the only one, they're going to have the operator will end up having between 200 and 1,000 investors to take care of. That is not the case with energy funders. We handle the investor relations part of it so that the operator can do their job, and the operators have really been responding favorably to that. And they see energy funders as potential for an outsourced investor relations, capital raising operation.
We've got a lot more questions for you, but we're going to go into a commercial break here. Philip, give our audience contact information for you so they can get, whether it's an operator or an investor, they can get to your site and then start to take a look at what you're doing.
It's really simple. Just go to...
I think we may have lost Phil. I'll do it for him.
Very quick and easy sign up.
Okay, we lost you there for a second, Phil. The line dropped. EnergyFunders.com. And do you have a number that people can call?
People can call 713-300-9996 if they have any specific questions. But we try to do a really good job of answering a lot of questions on the website itself at EnergyFunders.com.
Perfect. All right. We'll be right back on the other side of this break with Phil Racusin, CEO, co-founder, EnergyFunders.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.